Sup everybody, my name is Kristen Mae Carbone, and this is You, Me, and Brie Makes 3, show about cheese. Today we're going to talk about how to buy cheese, where to buy it from, and what to look for when you buy it. Let's get started. So, where do you buy cheese? If you watched last week's episode, I mentioned Cheese Culture magazine, which has a fantastic online as well as subscription-based resource where you can look up by state, by zip code to find cheese shops, specialty shops in your area where you can start to find those more artisanal or smaller batch production cheeses. But there are other places to look too. So your first option is a grocery store. Now, grocery stores aren't my ideal suggestion for a number of reasons. Obviously, it's not their specialty, unless you're one of those fortunate people who lives near one of those more renowned, larger grocery stores that has a cheese person dedicated on premises. That's not what they do. They're trying to offer you a large variety of goods, price margins, things like that. So it's not necessarily about the quality of the cheese, so long as it is what people buy. That being said, I've been to some general supermarkets that have some really great cheeses, believe it or not, and I've been to some, like my local, that are less than great. So what I tell people to do is go before the party. Go the next shopping trip you've got coming up and take a look around the cheese case. See what's offered. If it's a lot of larger name brands, like Boar's Head, that's not what you want. This is not the type of selection that you're looking for. Unfortunately, my local right now is pretty much just Boar's Head in, 80 varieties, but it's mass produced. It's mass farmed, factory farming. That's not what you want in your cheese. That's not how you get the variety of the flavor of cheese. But some stores do have good options. So I encourage you to go early. Go before a party, long before the shopping is needed to be done, and just look around. Take photos, look at some cheeses that might interest you so you can look them up later on when you're home and see, is this a factory farm? Where is this from? Do they have tasting notes online listed for it? So you can know ahead of time what you might be getting into if this is your bare bones only option. The next step up from that is obviously going to be a more specialty food shop or a more curated grocery store. So if you have a Whole Foods, or actually even a Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's has surprisingly great cheeses. And I know that also because Beecher's carries, they carry Beecher's cheese in their grocery store. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them do carry Beecher's on their the 3 cheese plate. For some people, that's Beecher's cheese. So I know that the quality there can be good. There are good options for you to buy there. Whole Foods is another one. They have an exceptional cheese selection. I mean, you can just tell, because what you're seeing, especially at Whole Foods, is you're seeing often the whole wheel. So you can see how they've broken it down. So you know what the original wheel size looked like. You can see the different shapes, different textures. You can see how they're cutting it for you portion by portion. So you know that it's not just a bunch of shrink wrap cheese. I mean, some good farms shrink wrap their cheese. I'm not saying it's horrible all the time, but when you can, as often as you can, you want to buy from that whole wheel because that's how you know it's a better quality. So if on the base level you have your basic grocery stores, from there you go to more higher end grocery stores like Whole Foods, Fairway Market, things like that. Then the next best thing, if you can, is a actual cheese shop. That's the dream. That's the top tier because you're getting, especially if there are some not great cheese shops, but if you're getting a really good quality cheese shop, those people know, they've tasted all the cheeses coming in, they know about different textures, types, farmers, things like that. That is the dream. And I actually have one near me that I can go into and buy cheese from if I would like. And I've been in there for a cheese tasting. Those are the primo, because you can actually talk to someone who is there to sell cheese to you, whose job it is to know cheese. So, look around, get a feel for what it looks like. Is it clean? Is the temperature right? You want it probably in the 70s. What does the cheese case look like? What are the variety of cheeses? Now, depending on where you live, you don't get the chance to be super picky. You kind of got to go with what you got. But if you don't have the privilege of living in New York City or another major hub where there are a lot of specialty cheese shops, just go in, try, get to know them. There is another really good spot to get cheese though. and that is at a farmer's market. And a farmer's market is ideal. I mean, depending on the farms and depending on what's available to you. You might not have a huge variety, you know, if it's only 1 or 2 farms, you know, you've got what basically they can offer for you. But what's nice about that is you're speaking directly to the people who are involved with making the cheese, who work with the animals, who work on the land. You get to talk to them and connect with them directly. And what's awesome about that is you get to know them. You get to know what they do. You know that it's a good quality. It's a small operation. And that is something that you can't beat. I mean, that's one of the joys of my job is when farmers come in and I get to talk with them directly about the product they make and, you know, what their land is like and all these other things. That's, as a consumer, that's the dream, is getting that direct connection. Now, the caveat with that comes is, again, depending on the farm, depending on the size, they might not have a huge variety of cheeses, depending on if it's like a co-op or there's a cave system situation where they bring in milk from other farms, smaller local farms, to age in their caves and for their cheese making process. But you do get that one-on-one connection, which is just fantastic. So I want to talk about buying cheese, actually going in and buying cheese at each of those levels. Now, buying cheese, funny enough, is at the grocery store, at your basic grocery store, sometimes the hardest because you can't go in necessarily, depending on the grocery store, and taste cheese. If it's like mine, it's just a little display thingy island, and it's filled with shrink wrap cheese. You can't taste samples or anything like that, and you have to kind of guess. What I do in those situations, but this is also because I know cheese, I'll smell it. I'll pick up a cheese and I'll smell it, see if I can smell anything that can be good with some of the wash rinds, Bries, to know if it's a more milder Brie, if it's a more funky Brie, and funkier Bries will have that kind of cruciferous notes to them. If it's a wash rind, how funky might it be? If it's a firmer cheese, I'll squeeze it a little bit, try to get a feel for the texture. I will still smell it too, just to try to see what kind of notes I get jumping out at me. But you kind of have to take a gamble. Now, if you're going to do that, as often as I can, I'll buy the smallest piece I can find. If you've got a grocery store that has like a little samples box or something, that can be awesome because then you can buy smaller end pieces of cheese and try something. And that way you can get a feel for what they offer and not have to pay full price for, again, a wheel that you might not like. Second tier for specialty shops, higher end grocery stores, oftentimes, like Whole Foods, there's someone there. You can ask for a taste, you can ask to try something, and that way you'll know ahead of time what you're getting into. Take a look at how things are displayed. Is it clean? Is it well lit? Is it in sunlight, which you don't want? How's the temperature? How are things kept? Those are all important, but that way you can kind of get a feel for what everything is, because you can actually taste it. And that makes buying things so much easier. And you can also, sometimes they'll cut specifically for you so you can have a smaller piece if you just want to get a little bit of something. And then obviously cheese shops, the dream. You're talking to someone who's very specifically there. You're able to taste things. You're able to get to know the people that you're working with, hopefully that you're going to be buying cheese from often. That's just fantastic because, again, you get to really get to know cheese before you buy. You don't have to have as much risk. And it's a special situation. I find it to be special because it's, you're getting to know someone, you're getting to know cheese rather than just buying something off the rack and saying, this is it. I find that way more important for food. And then obviously the dream is a higher end specialty cheese shop where you can ask for samples. You're speaking to someone who's in a space that is solely dedicated to cheese, so there's a lot of information, hopefully, there should be. There's a lot of information. You can take time to really get to know the cheeses they offer, get to know them, because if this is someone that you're buying from often, building that relationship is great, because if there's something that you find you like somewhere else, you can ask them to start stocking it, because they're curious what their guests like, what their customers are interested in, trying to find things, curating what the store carries, even seasonally. That's the dream. And then a farmer's market is also great for that reason too, tasting, getting to know the farmers and what their livestock specifically bring, what the area that they farm in specifically brings to the table and to the cheeses that they make. Again, You can't beat that. I love to buy from my local farmers markets whenever possible because again, I like to know what people are doing, get to know them, because that's how you get a really special product, and that's how you get someone who is dedicated to doing good work with good cheese. And that's it. Those are some things to think about when buying cheese. You know, if you've got just your basic grocery store, go in early before it matters so you're not pressured. Get a scope of what's available, take some photos, look some stuff up, and then go from there. If you liked this video, please put a like down below, share it, subscribe to this channel, add some comments, tell me about things you would love for me to talk about. I still have a bunch of ideas coming in, but I always love to have your input as well, seeing as this is not just for me, this is for you. Your cheese knowledge, your interest, learning, life, all those wonderful things. As always, every Friday at 5 p.m., Fromagere Fridays. You, me, and Brie makes 3. My name is Kristen Mae Carbone, and I will see you next time. Ciao.